Have you ever stopped to think about your brain, not as this thing you were just born with, but as a project that's constantly under construction, something you're actively building every single day? Let's really get into this.
So, I've got to ask you, right off the bat, do you think your brain is a finished product? I think a lot of us kind of assume that after a certain age, that's it. It's pretty much set in stone. But the science? It tells a completely different and frankly, way more exciting story.
You know, it really all boils down to this one simple but incredibly powerful phrase. Use it or lose it. And that's not just some catchy slogan, it is the fundamental rule for how our brains grow, adapt, and stay sharp for our entire lives.
So to really understand this, we first have to appreciate the absolutely incredible process of how a brain gets built from the ground up. I mean, it is an architectural marvel, and the complexity is just staggering.
Just try to wrap your head around this number. The adult brain has more than 60 trillion connections between its cells. That's over 1,000 connections for every single neuron. It's a network that's so dense, it's almost impossible to imagine.
So how on earth does the brain build something so complex? Well, it happens in 3 key stages. First, the brain cells branch out like crazy, creating this massive web. Then, those connections get insulated to speed things up. And finally, and this is the weird part, the brain starts cleaning up, or pruning, the network to make it more efficient.
Okay, so that first step is called synaptogenesis. The best way to think about it is like the wild early days of building a new city. You're just laying down countless roads in every possible direction, trying to connect everything to everything else. It's this explosive, messy, but essential period of growth.
Next up, you've got myelination. This is the upgrade phase. It's like paving all those dirt roads and turning them into super fast fiber optic cables. This fatty stuff called myelin wraps around the nerve fibers, and it acts like insulation. It lets information just zip across the brain, which is what makes our thoughts feel so quick and seamless.
And now we get to the most counterintuitive part of the whole process, synaptic pruning. So after creating this huge, high-speed network, the brain starts deleting connections. Yeah, it gets rid of the pathways that aren't being used. It sounds totally backward, right? But it's absolutely crucial for creating a fast, efficient, mature brain. You're basically closing down the unused side streets to make the main highways even faster.
And this shows the whole journey perfectly. At birth, we start with these simple neurons. By age 2, though, the brain is this dense jungle of connections, unbelievably complex. But then, through that pruning process, it gets refined into the sleek, powerful, and efficient network we have as adults. It's just this beautiful transformation from raw potential into focused power.
Now you might be thinking, okay, that's a nice story, but is there proof? Well, we can actually see this happening. Take a look at this chart. It shows the volume of our gray matter, that's the brain's processors, over our lifetime. See how it peaks in childhood and then starts to go down? That decline isn't a bad thing at all. It's the physical evidence of that pruning process making our brains leaner and meaner.
But wait, that's not the whole picture. While the gray matter is being refined, check out what's happening with the white matter, those insulated cables we talked about. It keeps growing, well into our 20s. This tells us that even as the brain is getting more efficient by trimming the fat, it's also getting faster by upgrading the communication lines. Brain development is definitely a marathon, not a sprint.
But, with a building process this intricate, it means that sometimes the blueprints can go wrong. Understanding how the brain gets built also means we have to look at what happens when these delicate processes get disrupted. And the stakes here are pretty high. Based on data from parent surveys, about 15% of children here in the US are affected by some kind of neurodevelopmental disorder. That means the brain's wiring just didn't follow the typical plan.
And these include conditions that I'm sure many of us have heard of, things like ADHD, various learning disabilities, autism spectrum disorders, and intellectual disability. Each one represents a different twist in that incredibly complex road of brain development.
If we zoom in on just learning disabilities, for instance, you can see just how common they are. And the data here points to something really interesting.
boys are reported to have learning disabilities at a noticeably higher rate than girls. But what all this really drives home is how much we still have to learn. This quote, to me, is incredibly humbling. For up to half of all cases of intellectual disability, scientists still don't know the cause. It's a powerful reminder that the brain still holds so many of its secrets.
But here's where the story takes this amazing, hopeful turn. Because even when things go wrong, or really, just as part of everyday life, the brain has this profound built-in ability to change, to adapt, and even to heal itself.
So this adaptability, this plasticity, it comes in two main flavors. First, there's experience expectant. This is the brain being hardwired to expect things all humans experience, like seeing light and hearing sounds, to finish its wiring. But then there's experience-dependent plasticity, and this is all about you. It's how your unique life, the instrument you play, the language you learn, literally carves and shapes the structure of your brain. And get this, the brain's ability to change is so powerful that it can respond to major trauma in just astonishing ways. This research finding is incredible. It shows that certain kinds of serious brain injury can actually trigger the brain to create brand new neurons in an effort to repair itself.
So the really crucial takeaway here is this. Your brain is not just a passive thing that gets damaged or gets older. No way. It is an active, dynamic system. It has a remarkable, built-in toolkit for self-repair and for reorganization. It is constantly working to fix and reroute itself.
And we can actually see how it does this. After an injury, you might see regenerative sprouting, where damaged nerve fibers literally try to regrow. Or you get collateral sprouting, where healthy neurons nearby stretch out new branches to take over the job of the ones that were lost. It's an amazing example of teamwork and resilience at a microscopic level. And this amazing, lifelong ability to learn, to adapt, to heal, and to reorganize, it has a name. It's called neural plasticity. It's the core principle that makes your brain the dynamic, incredible organ that it is. Which, of course, brings us right back to where we started. Your brain isn't some fixed object you were handed at birth. It is a dynamic, evolving, lifelong project. It is constantly being shaped and reshaped by what you do, what you think, and what you experience. So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. We know for a fact that your brain is always a work in progress. So the real question is, now that you know that, how are you going to shape yours?